for us to compare ourselves with other people. The
Oh,
point where I get to, where I start comparing myself with people who are so-called mad, yeah.
insane.
Then
They
there's
didn't pick it up.
gonna be
They
able to
didn't
there
choose
is
it.
these people are insane. They didn't choose it, right? I look at the plight of these people and start to compare myself and say, oh, but
Being
thankfully,
rude.
I'm not like them over there.
I think all the
Then
technology
there
is
is
being rude
something
today. The nature of
fundamentally
technology.
wrong with me. And so
But
I
The
will
left,
not be
the boss went to
answering
show me how to
that question
punch in on
of
the time
yours
clock,
because you want
and he
me
had no idea how to
to
do
place
it.
myself on a
He
higher
was like, I don't know how
pedestal
this thing
than
works.
people who
no,
had
And it
no
didn't
no,
work
choice.
at
hold
all.
on.
This is
But
something that they had no choice over. This isn't something they chose for themselves,
didn't
right?
you hear
And
what
this is
you read in that
crazy.
scripture?
Oh, you
I
know
am not
what?
the one
I'm
that
done.
wrote that.
I'm done. Then that means that your God made them that way.
But it's the reality of things.
Then your God made them
So
that
how
way.
can you do to change all these things that in
There's
existence?
nothing. There's
I'm not
nothing.
the one that did that.
Thankfully, the God.
These are things happening
Thankfully,
within
the
our
God
own
does not exist.
real-time
Thankfully,
lifestyle.
thankfully, the God does not
Who's in
exist.
charge of
So,
everything?
yeah.
Property. Who's in charge
Oh
of
my
everything?
goodness.
God. And he
Okay,
said, I
so
will choose whom I want
Yo,
to
Ember,
choose.
we need to get
He's
up
the
in
one
this
driving the car in
juju.
the
Okay,
What'd
It's
you?
he's at the wheel.
Oh shit!
Okay,
I
all
muted
of
that
this is
that stream.
happening
What?
under his
Oh,
watch.
What about
yeah.
the juju?
She's
And he said,
debunking
I'll do
Juju.
it.
I was just saying we should get
So
into it
I
more because
wish
it's just
we
something
can
different to
undo
talk
this.
about.
But these are the realities. But yet you are
Yeah.
saying God is this, God is that. How can we
Yeah,
undo
shit.
this?
I don't think
It shows
I've
there's
ever talked
an
about that. I mean, I may
authority,
have
there's
like
a power
referenced it.
that is
Have
Yeah,
beyond
yeah,
our
Holy crap.
reach
exactly.
and
Have you
control,
ever
right?
have you ever
Yeah, and
have
Carrie
you
Ann
ever
and
prayed
AR
and
are
asked
right
him
in
this?
there.
Have you ever prayed and asked him
Yeah,
how
yeah,
can
I
he
came back
undo it?
up.
And of all things, it's only the Christendom that can actually
Have
convert or
you
change or
have
heal
you asked
an
him?
insane person to a sane person. Of all
What?
this banter and criticism,
What?
yes,
I'm trying to
yes,
test my
come, I've seen it. It's
my
done.
PC to
Come
see
to
if
my
I'm
church,
what
yes.
it's like to
Just
stream with
keep
it. But when I was
guys,
streaming with it
just
before,
keep
it
this
kept
guys.
freezing
It's
on me.
happening. Why would I
Absolutely
come on
nuts.
live
Stop
and
it,
be
stop
making
it,
Arr.
stop
making
it. Please stop it.
making all
Please
these
stop it.
allegations?
Oh, no,
These
no,
are
no,
not
no.
stories.
I cannot listen. I'm going listen. At this point, enough.
It's also kind of
Because
funny
I
to
don't
me
want you to
that
put any
you know, there's
misinformation on
this
my
channel,
life.
the Afro Atheist. There's
What you just said
there's
there
you, there's
is
Uncle
a
Bobby.
whole
There's a
bunch
bunch
of
of
misinformation.
brown people
This guy
who
just
are
claimed
openly
that
atheist,
Christianity
very skeptical,
cures
etc.
people of
And
mental illness,
Jimmy
and
Snow's
we are not going to have that.
getting criticism like
We are
crazy.
not
Why
going
don't
to
you
have that.
have
We
like
are
why
not
is
going to do that
everyone
because
very, very
Oh,
peachy
I
on this channel?
know.
You know?
I'm always like, I'm right here.
Yeah.
we
And it's like,
Any
well, you know, it's really hard to find somebody. Like occasionally they'll have which
Christianity
is great, but
somehow
like,
cure
come on now.
for people going
Like to
through
find somebody
real
who's both
life
colored and an atheist is
situations.
like
No,
really
I
hard.
will
I'm
not
like,
I
have
didn't
that.
expect
fuck's
that.
sake, Jimmy.
Stop. Enough. I will not have that. Right,
Yeah,
I
guys.
don't know
I'm,
about that.
I'm done for one
Yeah,
day.
please.
I've
maybe
been
at
going
some
for
point.
nearly how many hours? So I'm
I
really
technically
sorry,
I
but
haven't
this
hit
is
any of these
because
people
if
up,
we let this
so
guy continue.
KGR wants to come up real
Well,
quick.
Oh, okay.
I don't
If we
I don't know.
let him
Like
continue at this rate, who's
Nice having you.
KGR, come on.
Good
KGR,
night.
where are you?
so Eric
Wait, hold on.
from
Let me
Skeptics
someone
and
else.
Scoundrels,
She's in
he
the comments. I see her.
he
She's
semi
in the
asked
comment
Here we
he
section.
go.
like
Here's KGR.
Yeah,
when
I
he
see
started
her.
to come to prominence, like when he got featured on Godless Engineer's channel and his channel blew up and
Hi,
whatnot,
baby cakes.
he joined the Lines Patreon, and then they do a monthly patron call, and then
Anybody who legitimately
he
believes
joined
that
the
God
call,
cares about
and
people,
then when he got to talk to
the
Jimmy,
God of
because
the
Jimmy was the
Bible
one doing
cares
the call
about
that
people,
month, and
needs
Jimmy's
to
the
remember
producer and the
that
decision
every
maker.
person
He was
that
like, "Hey
he
Jimmy, you
deems
know, I
as
just
his
started
chosen
here. You know, here's my
had to
video.
be
This is what I
tested
do. I'm
in
trying to really get into
through
street
some sort of
epistemology.
awful
Can
test
you make any
where they had to
recommendations?" And Jimmy's
sacrifice
like,
something that they
"Come on my
actually
show and
love,
take phone calls.
that he supposedly
Epistemology is
gave
all
to
we
them
do." So
in order
he
to
kind
prove
of
their
asked.
loyalty.
And he also has
If
like,
that were a
his
normal
channel's bigger than
relationship, we would
all
Yeah,
call
of ours
yeah.
that
put together,
abusive.
including Afro-Atheist.
We would also call that absolutely
But on the other
sadism.
hand,
And we would
after Eric had
also
been
want
on a
people
couple
to
of
get out
times,
of
he
that
put a bug
relationship.
in Jimmy's ear about
And
getting
any
me on
person who
too.
is from the
And
diaspora
even
or who
though,
is currently
Jimmy
in
and I
an
were
African
both on
country
R and
where
Ra's
they have been
Joseph Smith
colonized, the
show,
fact that you are
it just
clinging
never
to a
happened.
religion that has
So,
stated that you are
I
not
don't
even a
know.
human being,
You
I'm
never
not
that
sure
know.
you
how one
bear the
goes
mark
about it,
of
you know?
Ham or
Yeah,
the mark of
yeah.
Cain, and therefore are inherently evil
Okay,
and
looks
must
like we can try
suffer,
Nitty
which is
again.
why it was
YouTube's
okay for
weird.
them to do things like chop
Wait,
off
is
It
your
he back?
is.
Is
hands
he
and
back
legs
here?
and feet and subjugate you and steal all the wealth
Or you
from
said
your
on his
No,
on
country
his channel?
he's
is
doing a live.
He's
absolutely
live?
Yeah,
asinine. And that's the
yeah.
next
Her
level of
critical
colonization
position
I've
on this issue.
never
There we go. We got a stream running.
comprehended.
Wouldn't you know it?
If you can continue
You can
to
find
cling
one.
to this religion, I ask
The
you, what
reason
has it
I
actually
was
done
able
for you?
to actually get
Name a
even
single
close
thing positive.
to finding something critical
Listen
of
to Nitty for a bit.
was a detailed Google search. So when you are Googling things, just don't type in pain in crotch. That's going to get you stuff you don't want to show your mom and stuff that might be correct.
I had an
But you're going to have to
ex-girlfriend.
spend maybe a few pages
She
deep
was
getting
studying
down to that pain
biology
in
to
your
be a
crotch, okay?
veterinary
Gotta be
assistant,
detailed,
etc. And she took a trip to
okay?
South Africa to
Otherwise,
study the
your
exotic wildlife,
WebMD
to
result
let her
is
learn
just going to be
how
off
to
the
treat
charts. You're going to think you have
obscure
prostate
species and
cancer
things.
when you don't even have a
And
dick.
she calls me in the middle of the night,
So,
which was the middle of the day
yeah,
for her,
you
being
gotta
in
be
South
tight
Africa.
on your
And she's
searches.
like, "Hey, what do you know about
So
yellow
here's what you
sac
do.
spiders?" And I'm like,
You type in
"Why?" And
something
she's like,
like
"Because one just
critical
bit me in the
scholarship,
groin, and I need to know if I'm gonna
Luke
die." I'm like, "You're
vocabulary.
the one studying exotic
Because
animals."
when you're on an apologetics channel,
That's crazy.
you start talking
It
about
she did not
the
die,
Gospel
but
of
you
Luke.
know,
What do they say? Oh,
turns
we
out
know
they
that Luke
caused
was an
pretty serious
eyewitness,
swelling.
traveled
But
with
I'm
Paul.
like, "Why
And
are
in
you calling
Colossians,
me?"
wouldn't you know
Like,
it? It says he's a physician. First
I
of
know a
all,
lot of weird shit, but
the term
it's your
is just one
specialty,
who
lady. You know.
heals. So he could have just had the gift of healing. He touched you. Ooh, you better. That's it. It doesn't say like he could do incisions. He knew how to cauterize wounds. He could diagnose different viruses and add ancient antiseptics. Doesn't say any of that. It says one who heals. Okay. That's your evidence. Great. Super duper. But there's more. The apologists will often say, Luke is just
No such like yet.
hot damn. He's got all of his gospels just loaded with medical terminology. But he's just a master of medicine based on his word choices. Well, is that true? I'm going to make
Is it
a
true?
number of claims from a paper that I put in the description of the original video, and I'm about to add it to the description to this one. I'm not going to lie. This is a long PDF, my friends. It's not an easy read. There's lots of Greek words. There is language from the 1920s that we don't use anymore. The way you have to trace through statements is like reading dense theology. It's not fun. It could probably put some of you to sleep. So I made it a mission to condense some of the key points that I've gotten to that puts this case to rest for us. And I could share my screen, I guess, for my notes. And we can read through some of my Spark notes to this. I know, reading. But what do you do? What do you do? Can I make it so that you just see the note? Because I don't want to show you guys the rest of my hide toolbar. No, that's no. Ah, well. What do we do? What do we do? How am I going to do this? Let me think about. Oh, I have an idea. All right. Here we go. All right. There we go. Now I found a website that I'm totally comfortable sharing with you. Okay. So can I pump up? Oh, I can pump up the volume. Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about Cadbury's assessment of Luke as a physician and the language in Luke's gospel. So the next time you're listening to an apologist say, oh, Luke was a physician, you can consult Nitty Stream and his Spark Notes. So this critique was a dissertation responding to W.K. Hobart's The Medical Language of St. Luke. So here's Hobart, the person that's being criticized. Here is his argument, and you'll hear this argument parroted by the McClatchies, by Testify, the Analytic Christian, just all these types, okay? Let me do this. Oh, look at that. All right. We have in the account of the miracles of healing or their opposites in the third gospel and Acts of the Apostles, medical language employed. In the general narrative outside of the medical subjects, we find wherever we have an opportunity of comparing it with the other New Testament writers that Luke strongly inclines to the use of medical language. Even where in the general narrative a comparison cannot be instituted with other New Testament writers, we found words occurring uniformly throughout, which were in use in medical phraseology and which form from the habit and training of a physician would likely employ. This is the weight of the argument, and it should be remembered that the evidence is a cumulative case, and that the words here are numerous, considering Luke's writings. So the gist of this is what? That Luke is chock full of the medicine. He's got more medicine than a CVS in his literary works. So the criticisms of this are, there are so many words in common with Luke in Greek that their occurrence in a medical book would be inevitable. Say, like, we read a Stephen King novel, and we're like, holy shit, his Dr. Horror story has so many overlapping terms with the show ER. Stephen King must be a medical expert writing this horror story. You'd be like, no, there's just a variety of medical language available to him. He's educated. He could access more if he wants it to be highly detailed in his murders. So Cadbury's criticism continues. 80% of this unique medical language is in the Septuagint. 80% of it. So that's indicative that he read the Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Hebrew scriptures. He's like, what word do I want to use to describe someone being lame? Oh, look at that. Look at that over here. The Hebrew scriptures has a little touch-sees of lameness. I'm going to hijack that. I need that for my narrative purposes. Josephus, as a single author, makes a fair parallel to Luke, and using 90% of the medical words that are used by the proponent of the medical argument that Luke was a physician. Whoopsie. Okay, so the guy, Hobart, in favor of saying that Luke was a physician, he tries to make this case by showing the difference in Luke's words and Matthew and Mark's words. So if you got that, the argument is trying to say that the differences between Matthew, Mark, and Luke are that Matthew and Mark, they just describe potentially medical events. But Luke here, he's going to use some spicy medicine words to make it written by a physician. So the argument is trying to say that Luke makes a substitution of an adjective that's medical, and then he makes additions or omits something that's not medical, or he changes the description of a patient or a healee so that it sounds more medical. So here is Cadbury's Cadbury's assessment of that argument here. When you compare the synonyms of Mark or Matthew, the fact that the term in Luke is found in the medical writers doesn't prove that he was a physician for a well-educated person, as Luke evidently was. Even without special medical training, would use more technical terms than a less educated person. The general difference between Luke and the other synopsists is shown elsewhere to be a marked difference in their level of culture. So the critique here is that you got enough education, you can write something more sophisticated. That's why when people look at the book of Acts, they go, wow, this is some fantastic prose. He writes in a higher, more sophisticated form of Greek. Yeah, because maybe he's just more educated. Okay, so the proponent of the Luke as a physician argument tries to use differences in the Gospels, blah, blah, blah. I already said that. And here's how he says it. In the description of Jesus's healing work, Luke sometimes writes more fully than Mark, with greater vividness. He indicates how long the person healed had been afflicted. In the cure of the epileptic boy, Luke adds the description of the patient. These interpolations elucidate the description of the disease by telling of symptoms that are characteristic of epilepsy. In the addition in both of these cases, that it was the right hand and the right ear, respectively, is a token of exactness, which is especially intelligible in a physician. This is just playing into the hands of what? Someone like J. Warner Wallace saying that, oh, the Gospels have these super duper details or the undesigned coincidences of eyewitness testimony. So here is the criticism of some argument like this. Even when you put the details in, there are problems with making this claim. So on the one hand, Luke is very detailed. But on the other, Luke omits the fact that in curing the woman, Jesus took her hand, right? So he cared about which ear, he cared about the epileptic symptoms, but he didn't like the detail that Jesus touched her hand. In fact, Luke frequently omits the touching, that should be say the, or laying on of hands, where Matthew and Mark mention it. Wouldn't a physician show the detail of Jesus's interaction with the patient? If the argument is that Luke's attention to medical detail is of importance, why is it that he omits a more precise detail that Jesus' actions, the actions he took? He also omits or explicitly contradicts all reference to a self-destructive tendency on the part of the patient. He also omits some such symptoms as deafness, dumbness, foaming, grinding of teeth, pining away, falling and rolling, death-like coma on the ground. That's a lot. That's a lot of the conditions that are given by Matthew and Mark. So now we have an eyewitness who's totally comfortable not describing the patients who are getting healed. Great job. Great job. Yeah, so this is not indicative of repeating to the level of detail that one typically argues to show how precise Luke is in his descriptions. Here's another critique of the Luke was a physician argument. How do we know the degree to which medical language is known to an educated person? And here's my list, okay? Are you ready? This is really fun. I can use the words coma, cardiac, aneurysm, femur, tibia, labia, areola, erectile dysfunction, teratoma, fracture, radial fracture, spine, Alzheimer's, viral, anaphylactic biopsy, and cadaver. And if I wrote all of those in a short, spanning narrative, does that make me a physician? What do you think, guys? What do you think, chat? If I use all of those medical words, am I a physician? No, I'm just more educated on the medical language that is employed in my culture. That's all that means. Yeah, so many of us have watched ER, CSI Miami, and other medical documentaries or murder mysteries. And if someone is far enough removed from our culture and hears us describing in translation all of those terms, what if they look at us and said, "Oh my gosh, you're a witch doctor and a healer"?
And he's got the juju.
They would be sorrowfully mistaken, right? Okay, so the critic of the
Yeah, it's like by these
Gregory,
standards, most
the
apologists
critic
would
of the
be
Luke as a
historians
physician
or scientists.
argument,
Yeah.
he goes on to show that there are combinations of terms and adjectives that are either in Luke's contemporaries that are word for word borrowing of Josephus and more, like Hippolytus.
They all do have
and some
PhDs.
other, oh my God, I
That's
love
true.
that song. I love that song
Yep.
so much. It's all about
Yeah,
escaping.
I'm waiting for the
Jesus
day when
bent
I go
for
against
way
a
to get
fucking
away.
card-carrying apologist and I can whip out my frickin'
It's so good.
Universal
This is
Life
God
Church
coming in
credentials
capsule on
and
a
be
plane.
like, bitch, I've got a doctorate in
right.
divinity, a PhD in metaphysics,
yeah,
a PhD in religion, and a PhD in theology,
wanna read the
so
paper
suck my nuts.
and you can handle the level of detail that's in
All
that
of them
paper,
together took me about 6 months of
Cadbury
study.
goes through
Seminaries are great.
Greek example by Greek example, showing you that Luke is not special. He is not employing some unique, awesome medical language. Remember, he uses 80% of his medical terms can be found in the Septuagint. So Greek translators of the Hebrew scriptures, they all know this shit. Were they medical professionals themselves? No. They're just Greek educated scribes. Yeehaw. 90% is in Josephus, an amazing historian. What does that show us? An educated person knows medical terms, much like us. Look how smart you are, chat. I'm going to send you overseas, have your works translated, and then everyone will accept that you're some crazy healing witch doctor who's familiar with Jesus magic to save everyone. So here's what I had to do to fix the last live stream that went totes brokes. I had to destroy my poor stream and my my YouTube queue of videos in order to come over here. So please forgive me. Please forgive me as I reestablish my queue here. Let's see. I had that. Ministries. So okay. I've got so you know there's that channel that covered my former church. They have recently published some new cult stuff, and I figured we could give that a listen and see what other goofy ass cults are up to. Because remember, folks, you come here to hear the story of someone who was in a culty ass Christian church and what they're finding as they leave Christianity. It's an interesting proposition, right? It's an interesting place to be because we love each other. This is fun. Now let me go through my subscriptions real quick. There was something else that I found that I wanted to cover. I think it was what's his nuts. Capturing Christianity. Hang on a second. Gotta find this butter and toast
You
dude.
see what's his nuts myself, but it still makes me chuckle whenever anybody does it.
Capture Camp. Damn it. I actually have to go to their channel to find this now. God damn it.
Oh shit!
All right.
I'm doing everything
Let's go
wrong
with that.
today.
Okay. So let's hit up this one first. The origin of life. Points to
Let's go
God.
to the third one.
Ready? If I have to get an evolutionary biologist on here to wholesale debunk this, I'm going to be sad. But I'm just going to go from a layperson in the fields and
All right, I'll be right back. I'm
just
in the
listening
restroom.
to this case because, yes, I
Good luck.
know I'm covering cold case Christianity again. They're my favorite drug to come back to for easy content. But this is the kind of argument that you're going to see anyway from the Turks, from the William Lane Craigs, and such and such and such. So let's do it. Let's talk about it.
We happen to have life that emerges from non-life. I'd tell you, that always bugged me as an atheist. Trying to figure out how that could happen is a problem. I had a case one time where a cell phone had this text on it. It was the victim's cell phone next to his body at the murder scene. Here was the text. I wasn't quite sure what to make of it. Is it just a butt dial, an accident? You know, what does that even mean? It didn't seem like it was really information. I couldn't decode it. What's the message? I don't know. Well, it turned out this message came from his wife, Rachel, who had been cheating on him for a number of years he didn't even know. And on this night, she'd had enough. She wanted to kill him. He was working late.
Okay, what now? First of all, here's the thing. Life from non-life bothered me as an atheist. Doesn't bother me. You know what I think about it? I don't know. And I'm okay not knowing. Jay here is not okay not knowing. And you know what? If that's the life that he wants to live, we'll just let him. We'll just let him, right?
It confused me for
It's
a
not big
second.
deal.
I'm like, wait, he's talking about
so,
Jay.
You know,
Oh,
whatever.
Jay Warner Wallace, right?
But I don't know should be an acceptable answer, right? Give it the old Ken Ham. Were you there? Were you there, Jay? Did you know if life came from non-life? Give him the old Ken Ham. But we don't know. We can't replicate the initial conditions of the earth. Can you? Can you replicate God speaking anything into existence? No. Well, fucking I thought so. So if neither of us can replicate the initial conditions of a particular claim or creation event, if you will, why not just say we don't know? Of course, someone like Jay here will work from his conclusion backwards. His conclusion is that Jesus, in fact, historically, was God, died, and rose from the dead. So whatever else I have to believe in order to have my Jesus do the things, I am committed to believing those things. Right? Frank Turek does the same thing. My Culty S Church did the same thing. Well, don't worry too much about what you believe or don't believe about the New Testament. If you want Jesus' death on the cross to count for your sins, then whatever he says about the Old Testament is true. So if you accept Jesus as the authority and forgiver of your sins, then by golly, you're stuck taking everything in the Old Testament with you. Super. Obviously, that creates a multitude of problems for the believer that they don't even realize until later, right? Conquest of Cana. What? I never read this before. I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior. I guess God has a justified reason for killing women, children, and infants along with the men. Cool. All right. Now, this whole text message, I think what he's going to aim for here is, I'm not sure what this message is getting at, but if I press on, I'll find the reason.
Who wanted her boyfriend to go over and kill him at the place of business. But he was getting ready to leave, and he had called her and says, I'm coming home. So she texted him to hold him in place so that the boyfriend could kill him. This text, like many other I found before, it basically says, don't go anywhere, I'll be there in 30 minutes. So this is how they would talk about, I'll be there.
Well, that's a clever shorthand. BTI 30. I might start using that.
30, be there in 15, almost there, whatever.
But it doesn't mean I'm going to kill my wife. Just saying.
He waited 30 minutes for her and was killed in 20. So this was actually ended up being a piece of information. Now, one way we discover what this is by asking good detective questions, right?
Well, that
These are
means
the kinds of
that
questions
he
we all are
wasn't
familiar
there
with.
yet.
Am I right? I want to ask just one tonight when it comes to the
He does this with the Jesus stuff too, right? He asks who, what, where, when, why.
origin of life to get us started. I ask all of them in the book, but tonight I just want to cover the where question. Where do naturalists who are not believers think life originated in the universe? Because we've all got to account for the origin of life from inorganic materials.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Back that truck up, buddy. Origin of life in the universe versus the origin of the things that we call biological mechanisms that live, take in energy, create waste, and reproduce. Those are two different things. If you're going to say that nowhere else in the universe are the qualities of the things that we call life, then prove it, right? But if you're baking in the assumption that life, human life, or the things that we observe and label life are unique to Earth, then you should change the language a little bit, right? To say something like, the naturalist needs to provide an explanation for the arising of what we call life on the planet Earth. Be more precise. Because if you say the universe, it also depends on what you mean by universe, right? Is God in what we would call a universe, the totality of all of our existence? Then the burden of proof would be on all of us to say, well, are angels and demons in our universe, in our human cinema canon? If they can enter into our universe, then, now we need the explanation of all those things, if all the realms are intertwined and whatnot. It's not just us as our organism self, right? Am I crazy, chat? Do I not understand some theology or finer points of philosophy here?
And the proposals have been really broad and widespread. Lots of proposals have been offered. As a matter of fact, some people will say, well, I think it happens in the atmosphere. Some will say, no, I think it happens in the actual waters of some nature, someplace on the planet. Or they think it happens in some kind of terrestrial form, like on clay. I studied every single origin of life theory on this. Some will say, no, it happens at the deep sea vents under the terrestrial crust. Some will say, no, this don't work. It has to happen in the atmosphere. It has to happen out in space and get delivered to our planet. Why are there so many?
Panspermia is fun. I like talking about dicks. It's like there's a giant universe dick that just shot the life out. Oh wait, that's not what he's saying. He's just saying that the materials that started life just fell on a meteor. That again, be more precise.
Many theories about where this occurred. You know why? Because no one agrees. As a matter of fact, each of these famous scientists thinks the other guy is desperately wrong. He's certain they're wrong, and it gets worse because it goes the other way too. And the reason why they think they're wrong is because none of these work.
What the fuck? Doesn't that apply to Christianity? If you want to go, hey, we can't trust any of these possible candidates for the origins of organic materials and organisms that do the processes that we label life, if people can't agree on how or what that means or where it occurred and what it's like and yada, yada, yada. If they can't agree, well, how can we trust any of their explanations.
Then he got a haircut.
Yeah.
Hey,
He's
Steph.
styling.
I don't think you realize the importance of what
sharp.
we're doing here.
I got a stream going on my
Importance of
test channel, just so you know.
Is offering people a critique that we cannot offer otherwise. I can't go to Jay's church or wherever he's speaking and just be like, yo, be more precise in your language.
How you doing, Steph?
Yo,
Good.
be clear on your terms. Now, as P-Town would say, we're just patting each other's asses, which
Just
I don't care.
wrapping up the big moderation gig.
The
At the
other
line.
thing, though, is maybe
What'd they
this
have
can
tonight?
provide someone with a
Jimmy and Matt.
counterpoint. And I have 2 kids,
Oh,
Good
so
call.
a
yeah.
wife, and a job.
Good callers.
So,
First call.
I know.
Like we're on forever.
You're just razzing
I
me,
was
and that's
watching
fine.
Esther. She
But
was
I think the
talking to
point
people
still
that
stands.
practice juju.
Maybe one of the other streamers on here can affirm
Oh, it's too.
that
I can't.
for a lot of us,
I know they're
being
all
live
just
is
as
pretty
silly,
funny.
but man.
and it helps us produce content.
I
That's
think
meaningful.
Aaron should pick
It's
up
an
the
art form.
mantle
It's an
of
art form. You're either
Dr.
good at
John.
this or you're not.
You know,
I'm not
he's
perfect. I
may not be a
suck.
musician, but he's got a lot of the grease going on.
Location that's been examined to explain the origin of life.
I think
failed
he can
miserably, not just slightly.
probably.
The origin
I
of
don't
life
know.
studies are no closer than they were.
He needs some heavy metal
I hate
behind
to
him,
state
I
the
think.
obvious, but we need a new Dawkins because the old one's no good.
The old one's total.
That's true. Forrest Velkai's on his way.
That was a kind of a topic of the debate. Is like somebody in a super chat said, I wish Christopher Hitchens was with us today. And we're all sort of speculating. It's like, Hitchens had some problematic approaches to global politics, among other things. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, he was right on that level of either you die young enough to be the hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. He was kind of like Dawkins. He was kind of running right up against that limit.
Yeah.
What sent Dawkins over the edge?
Let's look at the Amazon
same
link.
shit
When
that
was this
sent
book published?
J.K. Rowling over the edge, I think.
This was published
That's the
in
danger, to push people too hard. It's like, oh, these people hate me. It's like, all right, well,
2015.
no,
So
you're just
now,
being
yeah, it's
ridiculous.
almost 10 years old. Look at that. I was almost right on the nose. But no, proteins are aggregates of.
When I look at it, though, it's if you start believing bullshit like that, that's on you. It's like can't blame me for that. What are you talking about?
And when put in conjunction,
I'm always shocked when rich people decide to be bigots. I'm like, this is just don't you just make enough to just keep that shit to yourself?
That would be a good time to punch down. Yeah,
exactly. It's so weird.
A determined set of.
If I were them, now would be a good time to like buy an island or something. Some rich people shit.
Excesses, products to the reaction.
Joanne's
Australia.
Assholes. She should have just locked herself in there and shut the fuck up.
Exactly.
And then there's going to be product molecules. Okay.
Go build yourself an actual Hogwarts.
Sorry. When the molecules are such that they combine.
Stephen King's a good guy, though.
Then that protein.
He does have. I've seen his house. I haven't been inside of it, but I have been past it. It's really fucking cool.
So if you're not privy,
airport in tow.
That everything needs.
No, it's just an old mansard style building in Bangor.
To be honest, the airport hangar at home is a little tacky, if you ask me. But it makes sense.
I have sailed past Billy Joel's little place in Oyster Bay,
or a chemist,
and
or an abiogenesis.
He can see the
base level understanding.
The labs there. You can see the labs across the bay.
Or the atheist could just be like,
I don't care. The labs can see his place, and he does have a helipad. You know, have a little heliport sitting there. It's like Jesus fucking Christ,
Gotta
man.
do it, man. I mean, because think about it though. If you have private, air transportation of one form or another,
Hey,
you don't want the inconvenience of having to actually go to the airport with the
You ever driven down 95 on Long Island? Holy shit, it's not fun.
Structure.
It's a shitty fucking commute. Remember, you probably done that route at some point, right? You've been
only
out-
once.
I've definitely done my fair share of 95. I don't know about in Long Island.
295.
Well,
it goes
or 295. Yeah.
Fucking
yeah, it's
you gotta get
Been
out.
on Long Island.
But it's all a
In
natural
the ass.
formation.
Yeah, I took it all the way to the end because I wanted to see the lighthouse at the end of the fucking
Got a
universe.
chicken and egg problem, which came.
Oh, you
It
went all the
was,
way out.
To be honest with you, it gets worse the deeper you look.
Yeah.
It's not just in Riverstone factories; it's in every aspect.
I wish
of
I'd had
society,
more
including
time
its
because
own
there were a
memory.
bunch of
You can't get this
harbors
complex
and shit
behavior
along the
first.
way that I
It's
wanted to
something
see and
complex.
abandoned
The protection
factory and
for
whatnot.
complex
But I
systems
did get to the
deal with
lighthouse.
things that are in the
The
complex
lighthouse
system.
itself,
That's
it
the
didn't
problem. You
disappoint,
have
but it wasn't
everything in place
spectacular
all at once
either.
in
But I
order
was
to
also
make this work. That's why
experimenting
it's
with
so hard
infrared
to
photography at the
place
time.
for all of this
I
to
brought
happen.
like all the
Absolutely
filters to do infrared photography.
Because it
No.
That's actually not true.
And I did get
think
some
recently
weird stuff. Like there
in
was like just
Japan,
above the lighthouse, there was
they've
like a
started
layer of
to
sky that you couldn't see with the naked eye. It was
reduce
like a
some of
fog
the
layer,
parts
but it was
Yeah.
only
that
visible in
were
infrared,
traditionally
and the
thought
lighthouse like poked
to
up into it.
meet the cellular
Well, yeah,
environment
sounds
in their
That's neat.
so
It's
that's a
not
lot
that
of
far
true.
from the
Yeah.
north shore of Long Island to the Connecticut shore. It's like right there. It's not that wide. I mean, it's not. In some places, it's almost
Yeah,
not
it's
not
like
as weird as the Solent. You know, the water between the Isle of Wight and the UK mainland.
yeah, they're saying that there's a tiny self-replicating globule that was discovered by Chinese researchers. So you can go look that up yourself. I double checked my work on that one. This was April this past year. So
Yeah.
people are working hard around
So
the world.
Eric
to
jumped
answer
over to
these
Texas
questions,
to
much
do
to
these
the
stream.
dismay of creationist claims.
Yeah, I saw him typing in the chat. I was thought about saying hi, but
He was over on the line, and he was hanging out on the line.
Largest molecule known in all science, right? Built from all the different nucleotides that build up
yeah,
DNA. These four nucleotides
he's usually in the chat
are used to build
when
DNA.
he's
This
free.
is the
That is,
instruction manual that tells proteins
his schedule's
how to
kind of
work.
weird
It tells
sometimes.
ribosome machines how to manufacture
Yeah, he's
proteins.
almost always in the line
Instructions direct
streams,
all
at least for a while
pathways in
anyway.
biological
Shows up.
Okay,
He was all nervous.
Yeah.
I don't know if they want me to actually moderate here. It's like at one point in time, Cookies wasn't around. It's like, hey, Eric, you got a wrench, use it for fuck's sake. You know, nobody's gonna.
Yeah, that shit isn't just for courtesy.
Somebody's gonna do it. It's like, you know, you get 500 fucking people in those streams. Jesus Christ.
Program with a programmer as
Yep, an adventure,
right?
Right.
Not
Didn't need
that
too many
these
missiles,
are
right?
part
Just-
of
we had a few.
their deterministic function.
Yeah,
we kick them quick.
And other really
Fuck
another
you.
way
Get outta
in which these things could do what they're doing.
yeah, no point
Again,
fucking around. Once
Yeah.
you know they're up
Men
to
are
no
way
good.
better than women. Okay, we'll let you get away with that. It's like Cookies goes, what the fuck? Are you kidding? I think it was Colossia kicked, you know, deleted the comment, and Cookies goes, are you kidding? And the guy,
As Gustick Gibbon, I believe,
the guy
pointed out,
came back and
Stephen
said the
Meyer
same thing. At which point,
is not an
I hid the
expert
comment,
in
and Cookies
microbiology,
kicked him, put him in timeout. It's like, hey, 5
He
minutes.
works for a
Fuck,
creationist
I thought you were
organization
joking.
and finds ways to
He's getting the
justify
hammer.
their claims. Whoops.
There's not a single example.
So working backwards from a conclusion.
If that rendered correctly this
In the entire
time.
history of science or the universe in which information ever comes from
Yeah, look at that. Dapper dinosaur. Too.
It did not.
Anything
You
other than
know,
so if this is information in the genome, what is the
these folks have a
intelligent source?
completely flawed
Because you cannot get information
thought
any
of
other way.
what DNA
He actually,
is.
some work I looked at. I love this guy's work. His name is Dr. Werner. Yeah,
Oh
he's
my
an engineer,
goodness,
IT
it
specialist,
drives me
He's
fucking
written a book and he
bonkers.
talks about
I'm like,
5
it's not
levels
a
of information.
fucking
Why do we
code.
think that
The
DNA
fact that we
stores
identified the
information
nucleobases
requires
by
source? All it does
letters,
is you look at information, it
it's
gives you 5
that
levels.
we did
There's no
that.
reason.
They're not
Here's my dog.
actually
You see my dog?
letters. You fuck nuts.
Oh God. Oh God,
Ugh.
the dog.
They're
To Pastor Paul's
the
house.
bases are
I've never seen this
actually
dog.
the names of the
Check this out. I have a
chemical
corgi, a Pembroke.
compounds
This is the best
that
dog on the planet.
they're
Aw, Jay has my favorite kind of dog.
Do you have a dog? Your dog is nothing.
that they consist of.
Okay, one of my favorites.
On your dog. This is the smartest dog in the world, but it's a dwarf. It's a Pembroke corgi, and they are like little shrunken down sheepdogs, and they can't type. If I put a typewriter in front of this dog, it is not going to be able to type. Let's just go with me for a second, do a little thought experiment. Let's say I put a typewriter in front of Bailey, and Bailey, I say, Bailey, do me a favor, type me out a sentence. And after banging her little paws against that typewriter, I write down on the chalkboard what she's typed. She's typed this. Is that information? Yeah, actually it is. What did she say?
Okay, wait.
And the other thing is the fundamental misunderstanding about what information means. And
yeah,
it's a serious, like, information is never lost.
It's very unusual and specific if you think about it.
Have you read or listened to the debate between Stephen Hawking and what the fuck's his name?
Rock to form its particular
Guy
pattern.
in his 80s, professor at
None.
Stanford. What's his
Does that
name?
mean it was magic?
He must spend his
Does that
whole
mean
life
it was
in
intelligently
what the
made?
fuck's his name? I can see his face.
Is it?
Was it
How
John Lennox?
Could you get
No.
to make its exact combination, its exact points
I'm
and
gonna have to Google it because my,
parcels of its
my depleted electrolytes are interfering with my.
It doesn't really tell me anything. I think that natural processes of physics or chemistry could get you this. This looks like random generated sequences. What if I give you one more? What if she typed this? This would be really cool. TT spacebar, TT spacebar, TT spacebar. If she did that, you'd say that's a smart dog, wouldn't you? I think.
No, I'd say that's a dog.
Yeah, see, I don't know.
Set of.
I mean, I have no idea about the debate.
Conveniently.
But like
Leonard Susskind. There we go.
It's like that cat.
Well, that's interesting.
He and Hawking had a bet
physical processes of physics and chemistry that could produce.
because when with Hawking radiation, the implication is that information is lost.
T13 spacebar T13.
Sort of for the whole holographic. Susskind came up with the notion of the holographic principle for black holes, right? So which preserve
it's such a fucking band-aid, though.
It is what?
So is this information? Yeah. But it's the lowest.
Well, I mean, okay, so the thing of it is,
before Hawking died, he agreed that Susskind won the bet.
Wow. Now you're in.
Is this like tornado junkyard?
He wrote a book, My Battle with Stephen Hawking, to make the world safe for quantum mechanics.
She's mastered.
That's great. That's right. That's right.
That is an excellent title.
What is she telling me? I don't know. I mean, I'm not quite sure what she's telling me. We're up one level. We've mastered words.
I don't know if you've ever watched any of the videos he's produced, but they're very dense. Lenny Susskind is not a popularizer. His lectures are really dense and very mathematical and wicked hard to understand. But they're worth listening to
because I'm getting
But at the bottom, at the
just to
highest
get a
level,
glimpse
Let's
of
eat
what he's
grandpa.
talking
I
about.
like that one.
No.
That conclusion. That's pretty awesome. Now, okay, here's the thing.
Maybe. I haven't seen him before.
Okay.
It's just it seems like he's
hysterically. He's a funny guy too. I mean, he's got a great presence, like many great teachers. He's got a great stage presence. He's wonderful.
It proves a creator. Okay. Oh, I missed the comma. Damn it. You're right. I missed the design of the comma, but I still want to eat, Grandpa. Maybe I want to eat a baby. I don't know. Okay, so where are we at?
All right,
the
Nitty.
problem
What
I
the
think
fuck
I
is
have
here?
here is that there are lots of strands of DNA that do want, I imagine, and I could be corrected on this, that perform a function that would be the same between two distinct organisms. So grant that, just grant, okay, when we read this particular set of instructions in DNA, we know it'll produce X function. Fair, okay. Now, even though that strand of DNA may produce X function all the time, no matter where, what cell it's in, whatever, it's one, not indicative of design. It's just what that particular set of nucleotides does in its particular environment. That's all it's evidence for. In addition to that, let's say we have a Y set of
I should go give Nitty some love. Need to give Nitty love.
DNA, and we know exactly
Nitty
what
love.
two
Nitty, everybody could. Well, I'm not going to flash my
us
tits.
and in another
Stream's not
organism.
open.
However,
Nitty loves titties.
That's
the need.
the kind of love that Nitty appreciates the most.
genetic set with us, but not Y, and another organism
Boy.
shares Y, and another
True, they all-
organism
I'm not
shares
lying.
X and Y. But as you continue to observe
I like
the
Nitty. I love
shares
Nitty.
of those sequences, you end up getting different results, even though the same part is present in both organisms, right? I think what I'm getting at here is that you're not going to get the same results merely by just having particular parts that you know what A will do and B will do and C will do. Even if all of them are present, you may still get a different result based on the order in which they are used, based on their combination, their environment, whatever. And that's not necessarily design. That's just, again, the properties of their environment. Now, if someone more sophisticated in biology, study of all this stuff, wants to correct me, tell me I am wrong. It's as easy as that, because I'm a layperson. I'm just trying to figure this out to the best of my ability, okay? And I think, okay, let's try this with Legos. Let's try. I'm trying.
Yeah, we're just
get,
kind of bombing Nitty with,
you know, a couple of different Lego sets that share a bunch of parts between them.
Nitty attacks.
But if I, and I know exactly how that part will connect to another
stereotype
part.
predicts things.
What matters is not
100%.
have particular abilities to connect with one another. It's the order in which they are put, even though their function will never change.
Because karyotype,
their individual function will never change.
Again,
so if that's the case,
if there's one protein missing, you won't get the phenotype you expect from the karyotype. That's the way it works. You know, it's like,
and that's what
yep. And there's a lot
Ooh,
of things that can go
we
wrong.
have all the nucleotides that do the us thing.
Because if it wasn't for the fact that that was the case, then medical transition wouldn't be possible.
Such a creative designer, he has to reuse the same things over again. Like, I bought all these Lego sets.
The way we do it, sure. I think we'd figure out a way. We're pretty clever fucking
bigger
monkeys.
Lego set from it, because by golly, Lego's just so smart.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be it wouldn't be quite the same. I mean, the
problem I guess you have
sheer
with that is,
the ability to change the hormone structure.
of the
changes the way
design
genes are
what session would
expressed.
say to make the larger set in
And
the first place.
so,
Nor is that required,
you know,
right? They could probably create
Yar.
different parts in different
I need
internal
practice
states
for tomorrow because I'm going to have to
internal
talk
appearance of
about
the
this
same result.
shit for 2 hours. 2
If
fucking
we are
hours.
super special, unique
Well,
creatures,
the good news
from
is that
God,
you
we could be
mostly
made-
only have to answer
we could be made up
dumbass
of
callers.
none of the shared nucleotides to
We've had
any of the
really the last
down to the
2
simplest
times I've been
eukaryote.
on the show, and
Now,
the
wouldn't that be
last
something?
several times I've
These
listened
might
to the
have the
show,
external appearance
callers
of
have been
shared
wonderful.
function between other members and species of our
Well,
what
that's good.
appears to be our animal
I
kingdom.
don't know what it is, but
But knowing a God that can produce miracles, that declares that we are special, what's stopping him from doing
Wes
that?
is banned, so
Wouldn't
we
that
won't
be an
be
awesome
listening to
miracle?
that
Holy
asshole.
shit, humans don't make any
I think some of the
goddamn
spicy
events on
callers
this
don't
planet.
call in anymore because
Slice
Katie's
ourselves
not on
open,
there, and Katie
look
likes
under a
to
microscope,
argue.
we can't find the materials that we are made with anywhere
You know, she'll
else.
go on and on. She's kind of the
Now we
Forrest
have a big
Hawkeye of
problem
the
to avoid,
trans community in terms
right?
of going on and on and on and
More
on.
parsimonious explanation for all
And
these shared
Well, you
and
know.
materials is
keep her
that
cool, you know.
people in the
Arden
same
will lose
place
her shit at some
might not
point.
be
It's like,
God,
I'm listening. It's like, fuck you.
right? Especially with something like
Get the
when I
fuck
heard
off my
about
phone line.
I just, you know,
in
no, I'm
endogenous
going to mute you.
retroviruses that we share sequences of viruses that insert themselves into our genome, and we share those
I actually
with
expected
all
Dr. Ben
kinds
would
of
be the Forrest
organisms on the
Valkai
planet.
of Takis.
And it seems to be evidence that at some point when that
Well, he stands a good
virus
chance of
inserted
being
itself into the
so, but
genome,
Ben's also Ben gets quite spicy.
wasn't a disadvantage to the organism,
Really
it just kind of
quite
happened,
spicy.
and it was passed
And
down
instinct.
as
I mean, it's conversation
the
with
organisms,
dog funny as fuck.
changed
It's
different
like,
kingdoms
oh,
of
shut up,
phylum
dog.
and whatnot. We still have that because our greatest ancestors did.
Doug's so butthurt about getting his ass slapped by me and Ben. And Arden was having none of it. It's like, what the fuck? What are you
Where's he
really up
going?
to
He'll
here?
just make more
Mister?
arguments for design. That's boring, right? We've seen all those apologetics before.
It's pretty sus.
What else did I have in my queue? Ah, culty stuff. Oh God, can't listen to it at that speed, can we?
I wonder if I wonder if the
going on the
Lions
cult.
banned the asshole.
Probably not. I don't like because
Alright,
it'd just
guys
be
take
based
a
off
vote.
like the last conversation, pretty
You
much,
guys
right?
want people to come on?
They probably didn't
and
bother.
Well, you know, he
hang
did
out
make he
and
did
chat
have
for a
the
while,
he did
is
go
that
off on
waste
that
time
tip of
being able to
basically
do
going
these
after
things
Arden
the
and
way
Matt
we
for
do with ourselves?
like 2 weeks.
Or we could listen
Yeah, I
on
guess
this
they
channel.
could do it after that. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's like
I'll share
beyond the
it, and
pale. It's
then you
like
guys
fuck
can
that
decide.
guy.
You guys can decide.
I mean, that's the
Is,
that's the
The
Pine
legacy
Creek and
of the
shampoo my
Lilith
crotch
cult,
move.
Remnant Fellowship. So those are the options. Hang out with
So
me.
Amber, I'm really glad to see that
Off the
things
cuff
got patched
or
up with
talk
you
about
and Arden,
the
and I
Lilith
think Jimmy.
cult.
I think Jimmy's okay at this point.
What do we think? What do
Oh,
we think?
I don't know. I haven't
I don't
heard
feel like putting
from
the poll
Jimmy
up. I'll just take the vote here. You know what? Fuck it.
at all. So who
Well,
the fuck knows?
you wouldn't have
I
because
know,
he's been
I
really
know. I
sick.
gotta go to my channel now.
He's been away
It won't
for
let
a
you
month.
in the
He hasn't
goddamn link.
done a show in a month. He's been really sick. So nobody's heard.
Yeah, I didn't
No,
know
that's
because
the
I've
street. Fuck me.
you know, obviously I haven't been around the line very much because I don't feel particularly welcome there. I drop in on Dave when I can and Takis because you know it's important, but the other shows I'm just kind of like, I'm going to keep my distance. I did see Jimmy was on Arden's on Sunday.
Right.
Start a poll.
And I think that's patched up. I've been saying, hey, listen, you know, I got Had absolutely zero problems with Ember. It's like that. He was a victim of circumstance, and
All right, there we go. Now you all can vote.
that whole thing.
Use your power. You want hanging out or
it's
voting?
fucking, it's trippy shit. I don't know.
I know it's just
I don't wanna
stupid.
clean your
You know, it's stupid interpersonal stuff, and it's just like, who cares, really?
What do we got?
I'll be honest.
I gotta see the vote.
If that could
50
just apologize for doing what he did on the
Yeah,
line, we
this
could
is a fight.
actually have
This
a
is a fight.
conversation.
Yeah,
But
you
Jesus
guys are
Christ,
fighting.
man, that was wrong.
It's a dead split. We got hang
No
out.
way that is
Ty,
acceptable.
Hang out and Cult are fighting hard. You know,
Yeah, Beck can
But I
be
think
very stubborn.
let's share.
Oh, it's, you know, I think you get the. I think you get the idea of, you know,
Look at that beautiful boy.
he shall not be
Still
named.
tied,
It's like,
gang.
leave that
Hang
guy
out with
alone.
Cult.
Don't give him a fucking.
Hang out is barely winning.
The guy's poison.
Mm-hmm.
He's got shitty
Yeah,
ideas. Lots of people have shitty ideas, but not everybody goes out of their way to actually do
Almost
physical
everyone in
damage
the
to
chat has
somebody.
voted. No, wait, no. There's a couple more. Couple more votes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even
Couple more. You can vote. We're still fitting.
like all my interactions with that guy, none of the things he said in those conversations was in any way out of line. But the fact he was even present made everything super toxic. You know.
Vote. Use your
Well, that's it.
democratically God-given.
You know, it's just
God. I don't believe in vote.
It's like Andrew Wilson.
hang
You
out
know,
with
it's like
me
that
or
guy. You know, platform. He's a fucking
cult me
self-avowed Nazi. It's like,
I'm gonna stop sharing my beautiful
oh, you
face.
know.
Let's see, we're still tied. Damn you.
There was a really good Twitter stream about
We got still hanging out. Still hanging out.
guy telling a story about being in this bar, and this guy walks in, and the guy has, you know,
pulling ahead.
88 tattoos all over the place, and this and that and the other thing. And the bartender, you know, he sits down next to this other dude, and the bartender says, "Get out."
2 or 3 more votes. Come on, lurkers. Vote.
And
we're voting on sock accounts.
the guy's sitting there saying, "What'd you tell the guy to go out?" And he said, "Get out." And he says, "Well, here's the thing. Don't know if you noticed, but he was covered in all of this, you know, all of the signage,
ready to roll,
being a skinhead fascist asshole."
As they often are.
Oh.
And in my experience, you get one of these guys, and
20 votes, 24 people.
give him the beer, and he sits around and chit chats and all of this stuff. The next thing you know, he's bringing a friend, and the next thing you know, the friend's bringing a friend, and the next thing you know, you're fucking serving at a Nazi bar.
One more vote.
Mm-hmm.
Will tell us the tale.
You know, at which point?
All right. I'm ending the poll.
You can't get rid of them. You can't tell them to go, you know, fuck themselves.
50-50.
Yeah, because now it's all your customers. You just close the bar. That's all you can do.
Damn it.
Have you ever watched the film Cabaret?
All right. What?
I saw a production of it, but
I don't care.
I don't know if it's the same as the film, and it was a long time ago.
It's very, but there's one scene in both the play and the movie, and it's in a beer garden.
Now we're in a, what's that called?
And
you have a tie in an election.
The Isherwood character and his boyfriend.
Election.
And I don't know if Sally Bowles was with them or not.
It's
but they go to a beer garden, and the musical number is a German patriotic song that was written in the style of German patriotic songs of the day.
Runoff election.
The wonderful Kander and Ebb.
More of you.
My favorite composers of Broadway musicals. And the song is the song is entitled "Tomorrow Belongs to Me," and a Hitler Youth kid you know,
dirty lurkers.
blonde hair,
All
blue
right.
eyes,
Right,
in the
all
brown
right.
shirt,
I'll stop
stands up
sharing
and
my
starts singing
screen,
this song.
and I'll let you motherfuckers on.
And by the end of
Why
the
can't I share
song,
my own link?
everybody
What's
is
happening?
standing up doing the
That's
stiff arm.
topical.
Oh no.
Oh,
There.
yeah.
Son of
And
a
it's
bitch. Let me pin it, damn you.
uh,
Oh, hang on.
the Isherwood characters
For fuck's sake. Chad.
boyfriend. I mean, it's that
Stop it.
typical Weimar
Dude, YouTube
crazy
hates me so
sexuality
hard
stuff
right now.
going on.
Okay.
The
Fucking
Isherwood
hell.
character, the young English man
Right.
having an affair with an American
Here's the deal. You
dancer in the cabaret,
you
and
need
at
to
the
prove
same
to
time,
me
this German
with
person
100%
of
certainty
former
that you
German
are
nobility.
raping. Oh, you left.
The person of former
There we go.
German
So if you want to
nobility
come out and hang out
is
because you like
dating.
lurking and doing your
Oh
thing,
no, it's not that
or
character.
you're
It's another
bored and you
character
have a camera,
uh,
you can come on here and chat.
who's a closeted Jew.
You again. Can you prove to me?
And
better
it's
than
a
Jesus is
wonderful
real?
film. It's a
No,
wonderful
the
film, and
historical
the
figure that you
stories, the
drank
Christopher
over his
Isherwood,
head.
the Berlin stories.
You
Read
can
that.
hear me.
That's what
But
the
you
film.
still
That's
aren't
what the play
unmuted.
was drawn from.
I'm giving you one chance.
And of course, the play was
You can come on
produced
here
and
show your
directed by
crutch
Bob Fosse, who
and
did
your
all the dance
mustache,
numbers and the dancing
but not your two
there.
dicks, because that'll get me kicked off
Knock your
YouTube.
socks off. Wonderful.
If you're gonna vote for a hangout, then you need to get
I can't
your
dance
asses
as well
on
as
here.
as
I'm
you know,
not just gonna
dancer
talk
people,
at
but
you.
you get the idea.
Yeah.
Oh no, Maya. This is a kid. I'm saying kid until you correct me. This is a kid we were doing some SE with, kind of some loose street epistemology ish.
Oh, it's that fucknut who was talking
let's
about
see.
chromosomes earlier.
Yeah, if you're
Oh,
gonna vote
goody.
hangout,
Okay. I
I'm
thought for
gonna
a
go
second
back
it was
to
this
the
kid
cultural
named
stuff.
Connor
People
who
that I know are old enough
I
to click
didn't
that link.
run across him until
Tough shit. I'm
so
gonna watch this
Aaron
video.
posted part of his time
You
on
guys
the
need to
Skeptic
save
Haven
yourselves.
fundraiser, like why he
Uh-oh.
is an atheist
I see
activist.
something.
And I'm so glad I asked that question
What is
because
this?
Aaron posted it, you know.
Yeah, that was
But this
that
kid
was
Connor
good.
comes on.
Really good.
That better
Yeah,
not be a
yeah.
penis.
But Connor came on and was like, I don't know. He started asking me questions because I said, Aaron, I commented, I'm so glad you could come because we weren't sure if Aaron was going to make it. It was a really
Okay,
fun stream,
no,
etc., etc.
I'm not dealing with
And
that audio.
Connor commented on my comment. I couldn't take anyone
Cap,
seriously
you
seeing
both
there's a they them on
hangout.
this thing. And I'm
Get
like,
on here.
it went on for a little bit, but TLDR, it completely
Alright.
blew his mind that there could be
The
a
audio is
person
terrible
who
anyway.
isn't a boy or a girl. Like the fact there's a third option,
Alright,
he just
we're
couldn't
gonna
wrap his mind
talk
around it, you know?
culture stuff.
And then
Yeah,
he
that was a
was
good discussion.
people coming
I thought
here,
that was a
so
good
here we go.
discussion.
It's easy to find our podcast on the internet at our
Yeah.
spiritwatch.org ministry website or
But
on
then
Facebook
he showed up
using the
on
search term
Aaron's
Spirit Watch
stream
Ministries.
on
Links to them will be on our
yesterday,
homepage and on
and
our
he was
Facebook
challenging
page.
Aaron
Easy
to a
access
debate,
with
and
a
it
couple of
came out
links.
that he's
So
16. And
bookmark us
like,
and share the
so when
links with
Nitty
friends,
said, "Oh,
family,
it's a kid,"
enemies, and
he
maybe
was
even
saying
strangers.
in the
Help
stream
us build our
that
audience
he's
and
been
stay
on
grateful
other
for what
atheist
we're doing
channels
and what we
already.
intend to keep doing
Yeah.
unless we provide biblical discernment.
Oh
Now,
shit!
today
Apparently
specifically, we're
somebody's
going to
paging
briefly
me.
Yeah,
summarize
like I
the
said,
theme
it's
of
you
this.
can't
Hopefully,
count
you'll
on
find us as
you know
fellowship.
the
Once
kids
about
need to be
Roman and Shannon Lara.
continuously
Based on a
educated
fact
on this stuff because
as
you
most of our
can't
listeners know,
you
Spirit Watch
cannot. I've
Ministries
said
has been at the
this
forefront in helping
more
expose
here
people who
in
are looking
conversation
to
with
current
Dave
followers of mere
in
Christianity
many
for
places.
well
I
over
have
20
said
years.
it on my
We
channel,
built
but
upon the early
you
warnings of the
can't take
Midwest
your
Christian
foot off
Outreach,
the
Fellowship
accelerator
Center Ministry
because
located in Northern Illinois, to develop the body of
you
evidence
know
and
you
testimony
just
that
got to
we
keep
compiled that has
pedal
brought
to the
light
metal
upon the
when it
doctrine of
comes to
remnant.
fighting for
Lara and
social
her whole
justice
remnant culture have become a
and
serious social
for
bridge
all of
in the
this
Midwest
stuff.
Tennessee.
And it's like, I don't care. You
This
call
is
me a
a cult,
social justice
and
warrior.
hopefully
I've been doing it my whole fucking life.
That,
And I don't think there's
doesn't have
anything
a leader
fucking wrong with
now.
it. I don't think there's
And
anything
you know
wrong with
what?
the term liberal. What are you,
That
some
is
kind
an
of liberal?
interesting proposition.
Yeah, I
And I
have to laugh
think
every time
it's
people
a
say
good,
liberal. I'm
here you
like,
are. Look at you.
It's just.
Wait a minute. I'm on solo layout. Hang
Oh,
on.
it's conservatives
There
or
you
liberal. It's
are.
that same fucking black and white false dichotomy bullshit.
Yeah.
Don't you dare call me a
yeah,
liberal.
I'm gonna make
I
a
am
claim
so
here,
far left
is
of
that
that.
can
I
end
can't
up
even see
leaderless,
liberal from where I'm
that
at.
what they do is disseminate
Well,
authoritarianism.
you know, the grandpappy of conservatism, Edmund Burke, was came out of a liberal tradition. I mean, we talk about the liberal arts, you know, we talk about the quadrivium and the trivium as the liberal arts.
Pretty good.
And it's like,
I've been up for about 20 hours now. So
yeah, because they're not
little punch
fucking
coming up.
religious.
What don't
Yeah.
Don't stay on with me just to entertain
Okay, so you know, some of my favorite books are the Mars Trilogy by Kim Stanley Robinson. And it was written in the 90s, just after the fall of the Soviet Union. The premise is that Americans and Russians create a Mars colony together. And they bring in some international people just for extra fun. And there's this period where there's this mad scientist guy who was he wanted to be on the moon of Phobos to set up a base there, and he had just come down to the surface after they'd been building a base on Mars for like a year.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and he's just like, you damn liberals, you think you can just make everything happy by making peace and doing diplomacy and shit. And the other character goes, you damn radicals think everything needs to be extreme and dramatic. And she looks at the base and she's like, liberalism built that, you know? And I'm like, I don't know. I just really like it because it shows that liberalism is, in the grander scheme of things, centrist.
Post a link to
Well,
Facebook.
it's, you know, the conservatives
better evidence
would be
gaming Mosa. Anyway,
in the context of the Enlightenment, the conservatives would be those that were campaigning to sustain the authority of the fucking church. And to a certain degree, that is still the case.
More than one. It's my one successful piece of content. Everything else is like very low.
And the church
low result. But yeah, you shared it. And here's the thing too, like that was
hasn't provided an answer, as far as I can tell, to anything.
Other pieces of content. I've done some live streams. I'm on the line now. I don't have time.
Yeah. You're only on the line because you got lucky.
Yeah. I joined the right live stream at the right time.
Oh shit! I've got to go in here at this point.
Today
my fellow host.
Do a little line invasion.
Yeah. Here's the stupid thing about Patreon. If you opt into monthly billing, like you know, just monthly subscriptions, you can't ever get out of it. Your account's locked into that.
AR 2.0. I don't know what Maya said though.
Months, I was like, man, I'm charging my patrons, and I'm not making any content because I'm too busy. So every dollar you send to me on Patreon will go to charities. So be forwarded all to charity until finally today or yesterday. I talked to the Patreon live stream or a Patreon tech support, and they're like, "Yeah, sorry, you got to make a whole new account." So I did that, and now I'm like in the process of bringing the patrons all over. It's only like 6 of them, but I got 2 of them over there. So anyway, that was my day today. That's what I was doing when I wasn't sleeping.
Okay.
So hey, Stephanie, how's it going?
Hey, Eric.
Welcome.
I heard Nitty trash talking the line, so I figured I had to come over here singing some.
I was not trash talking.
He was trash talking me. Well, Maya was trash talking me.
Well,
Maybe has a commentary on it.
All right. Why not?
Maya was trash talking me. But I am anyway. To cap that off. I do have some content coming out here really soon, and I am planning on starting a weekly live stream on my channel called Stream of Epistemology. Anyway, cap that off.
Okay.
I think it'll be every Monday night. That's what I'm aiming for. We'll see how well that goes. But yeah, every Monday night, I want to do Stream of Epistemology. I want to basically do what everyone else is doing. Just respond to some Christian propaganda online until people call in, and then run Stream of Epistemology. So yeah, do what everyone else.
All right.
Real good.
This Monday night on the
Maya's going stream trash talking shall commence at this point. Eric, I gotta say, you employ the techniques of street epistemology wonderfully. And it's most appreciated. It really is. It's. I think it's wonderfully.
Yeah.
And it's
All right, now there's no double, Stephanie.
It really is. It's.
Yeah.
I think it's a super good approach.
I think so too. It kind of resonates with me, but I'm just a practitioner. I'm an extreme novice compared to some of these other people I've seen online. So I'm here to practice to get better at it. But I appreciate the comment. I hope you get better and not let anybody.
I think you know a lot and piss people off.
It actually works for some people. Like
well, yeah. I mean, I think it takes all kinds, and
it does, yeah.
In a lot of respects, and I will do it to a point, and then just when someone refuses to do the work, that's when I get like, please go read this study. Please go look at this data. Please go investigate this stuff. And then we can have a conversation, because you're not prepared to have the conversation. You know, you're coming at me with cherry-picked stuff that you haven't really digested.
Yeah.
And that's not cool, which is why folks like Forrest are invaluable, because a lot of the arguments you get from theists are, well, even scientists say, and they'll quote some bullshit that's not at all scientifically based and not at all in accord with the majority view of a particular from a particular field. Very often, somebody will be often in theist discourse. You get somebody who's a chemical engineer who's sitting there talking about astrophysics, or vice versa.
Yeah,
and it just doesn't. The disciplines are too
stay in your lane.
apart.
Yeah, gotta stay in your lane. Yeah. It's okay. It's okay to get out of your lane. We gotta.
I am not going to finish that.
I'm not an expert in this field.
Other work today.
like I did, right? Like
I preface nearly everything to say with that.
and that's
Yeah,
so important.
I'm starting to think about the limits of what I'm gonna get accomplished today, Amber. I was like, damn, it's getting late.
I know. Well, I have to go to bed like right now. You know? And I'm like, fuck.
And if I turn out to be wrong, sorry, I'm yes right now.
Okay.
And I broke my screen. This is great.
Anyone can, I guess. But no, like, like I said before, I'm no expert in the biological sciences, but my conjectures, I feel like they're going towards something, right? Against these typical runs of theism. And I'm totally cool being wrong, or if someone, has expertise in God I don't believe in, they want to tell me so. Then
What'd you say, Amber?
That's typically.
Oh, I'm just.
Soft atheists, because you're not
I was editing in Premiere and it just crashed on me. So I guess the computer doesn't want to do any more today either.
Right.
There was streamers watching
recently
arguing that there's no such thing as a soft
whatever.
Ridiculous, but
saying there's no such thing as a soft atheist position is like saying there's no such thing as a person who will look at a jar of gumballs and be neutral on whether it's even or odd. Like that's the same.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, no, you have to think whether it must be one. It's like, no, I'm not thinking there. I can be neutral.
Anyway, where was I going? Oh, I forgot to say this at the beginning of my stream. So I had I have a coffee shop in my neighborhood where I attempted to do it's uh, great. It's better to be an atheist in 2020, whatever. Let's chat sign, right? And the coffee shop owner is a Christian, and he knew that I was a Christian, right?
We don't need your
He
kind of
shot that
yeah.
down. He's like, no, we don't have that. We don't want that kind of stuff going on here, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, fine, I'll play your game. I won't do my sign here anymore. But I feel like you're a little hypocritical when there's Christians just loaded in here with their Bibles, having loud conversations about repent. This person needs Jesus as their savior. And they're all sitting around the table like, Lord, please help grandma, go fishing and not die of cancer on the boat. And like, come on, man. Like, they are overt as fuck about what they believe in, and I just want to talk to people. Be like, nah.
So do you
And
like put out a sign on the table, like talk to me, or?
Yeah, I want to, and I do that.
okay.
I can do that as much as I want on bread, and it's so great. Yeah, like I do that at OSU campus. I do it by my mall. I do it in the mall. They got pissed. They're like, "Don't do this again," or
That makes sense. Yeah.
Like,
The mall's technically private
yeah.
property.
But anyway, I went to this coffee shop, and not because the owner wasn't there, but I was there with my son, and the table next to me, there were two people that one of I've seen there a lot is that I've seen him there a lot, and I know he's a Christian, right? I know he goes to some kind of local church, and he was talking. People, like I said, the Christians who come, they just talk very loudly and openly about what they believe. And it's not uncommon, right? I don't think it's a total social breach for most people. If you're like, hey, I overheard you saying, yada, yada, I'm interested in what you're talking about. And if they don't want you to talk to you, they'll just say, okay, this is a conversation between, me and them, thank you. But, if they're like most Christians, they're like, oh yeah, let's talk about that. And so I was doing my best to contain myself when they were like, what did they say? Yeah, I'm working with students on campus, and there's a bunch of them who aren't believers, and they're different from the new atheist movement that was, in effect from like it was hitting strong in about 2007, 2008, blah blah blah. And so I'm just like, okay, he's talking about new atheism. What the fuck is he gonna say, And he asked his buddy, like, "Do you know what new atheism is?" And the guy's like, "Oh, I don't know." And it's basically like he's been in a bubble for a while in his church and doesn't kind of like think about this stuff very often. He's not engaged in like pushback or whatever.
Yeah.
And so he's explaining it to him. He's like, "Well, the students I talk to now, it's not so much, their types of objections that religion is poison, that it's open for the masses, or blah blah blah, or we just don't need God or something like that. It's mostly that they question the goodness of God, and they don't agree with God's take on our culture, or where Christian belief would take our culture."
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, like that sounds about right. And he said that he's running the students for listening to Matt Dillahunty. So I'm over there, and he's like, yeah, Matt Dillahunty is a part of this organization that's based out of Austin, Texas. And I just was like, no, he's on the line now.
Austin's transphobic death.
He's not a part of that organization anymore. And so they're like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, do you listen to the line? He's like, oh, sometimes, and again, Christian. I'm like, well, that's cool. Like, I'm glad you're listening to that. And, after what he said, I'm like, I'm an atheist too. And every time I hear the argument, like, is God good? Sure, I might agree with some of that stuff, but part of me is just like, really, we're gonna do it this way today? Like there's so many other like things that maybe it's just my bias because of the stuff that I've learned and the ways that I would not, you know, agree with trying to believe in the Bible or whatever. They're just different than someone just being like, God sucks, or like, I'm mad at God. Well, wait, how can you be mad at someone who doesn't believe him? But whatever.
That's the little that's the weird little thing. It's like, you're just mad at God,
right?
Not really. It's
The Joe Inslee
don't
approach.
think he's
right,
there.
right.
All right, I gotta go to bed, folks.
I'm mad at Sauron. You know?
Good night, Ember. Thanks for hanging out, man.
I keep talking.
Yeah, thanks for being here to chill with.
Of course. We'll see you next time.
And I was like, hey, so you
have a good one.
You too, buddy.
Like, do you watch like Mythvision podcast?
Yep. All right, I'll take over for a minute. Ooh, I don't know. What's Esther talking? Who's Esther talking to?
This upon your Lord are inevitability decreed.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a throwback. All right, let's check out Nitty.
And then I was like, I somehow got on the topic of telling them about like Philo, the Logos, and like how Jewish thoughts like was much more diverse than Christians paint it. Right? Jesus, this unprecedented figure that no one could have expected. No one expects to Jesus. Like, sorry, but like, people were doing their best to look at the prophetic literature and coming to the conclusions that there was someone other than what are you showing me? A shark? Sorry, someone's backstage and I'm like, what the fuck is he showing me?
Oh, is it that kid?
A Joker card? What does that mean?
Look how awesome
Anyway.
I drew this shark. Obviously I'm over 18.
Sure. He's flicking me out. Dude, I'm just gonna ban this guy.
So while you're doing that, I wanna say hi to Andrew. He's in the chat right now. So so Andrew called in on the line the other day. And
okay.
we had a good conversation, if I remember correctly. But turns out Andrew just reminded me he's the Andrew that contacted me back in June. We had another conversation on the line, and he and I had a nice email exchange. So hey, Andrew, how's it going? You're making some interesting comments in chat. So Andrew, I'm not calling you out here, but I'm starting a weekly live stream this upcoming Monday called Stream Epistemology on my channel. If you're available Monday night, call in and let's have a conversation. It'll be friendly, cordial. I'm not gonna, like duplex you or suplex you like Matt Dillahunty might. I just want to talk to you and we'll just talk about some stuff. So
I'd love to too, but
yeah. But no, no pressure. You don't have to respond in chat. If you want to call in, I'll be streaming on Monday night, and I would love to talk to you. You can be my very first call-in guest for my new live stream series. So yeah, you're more than welcome to do that. And just feel free to email me if you want some.
Actually, no, I'll take care of that. Hold on a second, guys.
Well, you're going to call in? You're going to be my first guest?
Well, no, I'm an atheist. That's no fun.
You can pose as a Christian.
Okay, yeah, I can role play. I
Just
do
flip
like role play.
Flip that switch back to Christian, dwell Christian.
I'm a believer.
Yeah, there you go.
Would you recommend against my ever doing a sermon at a United Methodist Church ever again?
Doing a sermon at United Methodist
I've
Church.
done that. I have done that, and I would do it again. I certainly would do it again. I don't know if you saw that little thing, Eric, but
no, I haven't.
I want to talk to Christians. Not with the conviction of trying to change someone's faith, but to have them expand their faith to be able to include people in their thoughts, in their good thoughts, that they perhaps wouldn't otherwise do.
Yeah. I think I've asked myself a couple times, like, what is my goal for what I do here? And like, I was raised my entire life as a Jehovah's Witness, and I was commissioned to go and convert people. And I've thankfully, I was a very ineffectual Jehovah's Witness. I don't think I ever converted a single person into that faith.
You never made it to the coffee table to
Never.
have the Bible study and all of that.
I've done that plenty. I just never was able to like
Okay.
follow through and like finalize it or anything like that. At least nothing that I know of. So I'm very grateful that I was very ineffectual about that. But now I'm on the flip side of it. I'm like, I want to pull people out as much as I can because I see it as the terrible life interfering, life ruining nonsense that it is. So that's kind of my goal, is like I want to use true epistemology because I want to identify cognitive dissonance in somebody's brain and I want to amplify it. I want to make it so they can't ignore it and then just let them work it out on their own. So that's kind of my goal there. I want to try to get to that point and just let them take it over.
And there's a I think that's valuable. That's definitely valuable, especially when you're dealing with the more thought controlling sects.
Oh yeah.
There's always this no true Christian thing, right? It's like, well, that's not really Christian. It's like, that's how come we have how many goddamn denominations all over?
I've gotten that plenty.
Place.
I've gotten multiple comments that Trinitarians are not true Christians and Unitarians are not true Christians. And I'm like,
Jehovah's Witnesses not true Christians. What's with this? What's with the steak thing? What's with the no beards? What's with the this? What's with the that? What's with the other? The Mormons, oh my God, those people are absolutely insane. And this, that, and the other thing. But it's,
according to Mr. Wallace, since there's so much disagreement in this field of spirituality and Jesus and God, I mean, we shouldn't believe any of them. I mean, fuck, you gotta just throw it all out.
You'd think that maybe that would be a place where people could land, but some people just aren't ready to land there. And it's just I want to convince people to move away from the more if they're not ready to go the full, well, what's this God thing anyway? If they're not willing, if they're not ready to do that, at least they can do less harm. At least they can get their own views out of a command form of religious belief into a critical form of religious belief, which is one step on the road to moving away. And that's, and I got a lot of pushback from that. It's all bullshit anyway. It's like, yes, I know it's all bullshit anyway, but I had an easier time of coming to the conclusion that it's all bullshit anyway, even being raised in a pastor's family with in a strong tradition of Methodism, but it also had a strong tradition of education, of the liberal arts, of read the source texts, of learn Greek, learn Hebrew, learn Latin. And once you start doing that, so many people have started down that road and they've started to read the stuff and have come to the conclusion that, well, what it says in the English isn't what it says in the Hebrew, and it's not what it says in the Greek, and it's not what it says even in the Latin. And where did Aristotle get his ideas? Well, he got them mostly from this Arab guy in Spain, Ibn Rushd, Averroes. Most of these traditions, most of the ancient Greek philosophy that we have in the Western world, we have only because there was a movement within Islam to translate those texts. And knowing the history and knowing the language and knowing that this and that and the other thing. And here I am, a stupid fucking sailmaker. I don't know. I just sit at a sewing machine all day and do this stuff. But I do think it's important to pry people away from the more fundamentalist sects, because that's where madness lies.
It is fascinating how these religious texts being passed on literally century upon century, language upon language, so many hands and translators and copyists. Like, it's a fascinating study in just historical literature. Like that on its own is just an amazing topic as historical literature. But once you mix in this was God's tool to transmit his all-important message to mankind, then it turns into like, wow, this is a clown show. Like, this is absolutely not, this is absolutely not what an omnipotent being would use to transmit this message to everyone on the earth. Literally the most important message ever. And we're sitting here quabbling over what the Latin or what the Greek or what the Hebrew has to say about it. Like, I think an omnipotent God could have figured out a better medium to transmit this over accurately and succinctly, wouldn't waste our time, and it would be undeniable that this was God sent. Instead, we have the same transmission protocol that was used by literally everyone else back then. Like, okay, not very special.
That omnipotent God apparently wrote down in the story of the Tower of Babel that he deliberately made it impossible for everybody to understand what he was talking about universally.
Okay, sorry,
Nitty, really quick. I just want to just put a period on what Stephanie just said there. I don't know if Jehovah's Witness theology basically says that Satan challenged Jehovah, that man would not obey, basically like the Job challenge, but Satan made it for all of mankind. Basically, like, mankind only obeys you because you bless them. This is a challenge to you that we can stand on our own and we don't need you. And then God permitted this challenge to play out, and that's why Adam and Eve sinned, and that's why we are in the current state we're in, and we're currently like playing out that challenge. Was that part of your theology at all, or anything like that?
Me?
No? Yeah, or anybody, anybody.
Wait, hold on a second. So the reason Steph said something that reminded me of this is when you do, this is kind of reinforcing her point that when people do look at the Greek, when they do look at the Hebrew, Dr. Bird gave a point that revolutionized the way that I read the Hebrew scriptures now, what everyone calls the whole Old Testament. Every time you see wife, read it as woman. You will never, ever, 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 ever read that damn thing the same again. Because the English translators were like, it sounds pretty rough and tough and not great when it just says woman there. So let's make them married. Yeah, that'll fix it.
Sappho and her friend.
Well, so it's like
kind of the reverse of it, huh?
But start at the very beginning, right? In the beginning, and then he created man. In his image, he created them, man and woman. And then it's like, and then Adam lay with his wife. No, Adam lay with his woman, or this is why it is said, or this is why a man shall leave his mother and father and cling to his woman. Right?
That's not what it said. Okay.
Right. So it's like this
minute.
idea. It's like, oh, look at this. It's clinging to your bonded person in marriage forever. But read it the other way, right? No, you are bonded to a woman through the act of coitus. That's it. There's no ceremony. There's no hallelujah. God's so happy, right?
Yeah.
Or just something simple like Abraham's wife.
Who was throwing the rice when Adam and Eve got married? Doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Or Abraham's woman, Sarai, and his woman, oh gosh, what's her name? Exactly.
Abraham's?
His other woman.
Oh, was it? It was Sarah. That was his wife, and then the maiden or the maid servant that he bore a son with.
Oh shit!
That was Hagar.
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 Just
no
so
problem.
now
I got Hagar's back in this whole thing. Jesus Christ.
He's not married. to either of them.
And then
Those
Sarah
are
got
his
and then
women.
Sarah got pissed off and it's like, get
Yeah,
out of
but
here.
didn't
Threw her out of
Sarah
the
get
house.
didn't Sarah get pregnant too? And then the two sons were
Later.
basically at
Yes.
war with each
Later.
other.
So
Later, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Ishmael
Hagar's
was born.
Hagar's son was Ishmael, who the Arabs in Islamic and Arabic tradition, he was the forefather of their people, and in fulfillment of God's promise to raise up a great nation to the sons of Hagar. Like,
All
don't worry, I'll take care of you over here, no problem.
Yeah. Okay, so back to the question before that you had, that the divine challenge to Satan's proposition.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, Satan's challenge to God, basically, like it's basically like the Job challenge, except just on a worldwide scale. Like the whole idea of Satan tempting Adam and Eve was God allowing that challenge to take place, because Satan was openly challenging God to basically saying, you're unneeded. Man will serve and survive just fine on their own. We don't need you. And then God is allowing this challenge to take place. And that's what we're currently in the middle of. That's what the witnesses taught me. And I'm not saying that's what necessarily is biblical. That's just what the witnesses taught.
Okay.
Right.
But
so my running theology for this, or I guess you shouldn't really call it theology because it's more of a story. It's a theodicy of this. So it was something like this. That Satan fell from heaven, right? And Satan's accusation is that, God's not really good. He's not really worthy of worship, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And so Satan basically looked at man and saw their relationship to him and was like, no, I need to subvert this. I'm going to try and destroy this beautiful thing. I'm going to try and bring chaos back to the order that God has made here.
Yeah. It was either that or Satan like wanted it for himself. Like he coveted it.
Sure.
Thing,
Either way, right? But primarily it's the idea that Satan hates whatever God loves. All right. Yeah. So then God did not want to prove Satan's point that he's just this tyrannical, unjust, unforgiving monster. So he is giving man a chance at redemption while like the cross is the ultimate proof that God isn't what Satan accuses him of. It's not it's not a Job gambit where Satan sets up like this challenge beforehand. It's that Satan acted independently and God then has to, or God deems it necessary, because the correct idea of aseity or whatever is that God doesn't need to do a goddamn thing.
Yeah.
He can do whatever he wants, whatever he wants. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not, he doesn't owe anyone anything. He doesn't need anything. He just, poof, I'm doing it, right?
Yeah. That's where witnesses kind of diverge, because witnesses they're Unitarian. Jesus and Jehovah are two separate entities. But I mean, like, it does culminate in Jesus' sacrifice to redeem mankind and to prove Satan a liar and all this stuff. But anyway, my point of all that was, Stephanie mentioned the Tower of Babel a little earlier, and if you look at the story of the Tower of Babel, mankind's working together. They're building a tower to reach the heavens. It's working. Satan's right. The man's united and they're working together for a common goal. Things are going well. And God purposely steps in and interferes. Like, Satan was winning the bet, but God had to step in and interfere and stop that from happening. So I look at that and I go,
from the Jehovah's Witness perspective?
From the Jehovah's Witness standpoint.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I mean, like Tower of Babel, mankind's working together, all unified under one language, one common goal. They're building a tower to the heavens. And somehow that's going to make them equal to God's, according to Scripture.
It's a repetition of the same theme in the story of leaving the garden.
Yeah,
being expelled from the garden. It's like it's a bit of a trope for
It is,
atheists
yeah,
to say
yeah.
that
But from a
it's a bit of a trope for atheists to say, well, you know, who was the first liar? The first liar
Sure.
was Yahweh, right? Was that character?
yeah.
I think most religious texts need to be read as stories.
Yeah. But
and if you see what I mean, I
Oh,
feel
yeah,
like
yeah.
picking up the Silmarillion and telling the story of Melkor, right?
Yeah.
Iluvatar's arch enemy, who, you know, one of the created beings that sang the universe into existence, and after the Ainur sang their song and brought the universe into existence, Iluvatar looks and says, "Behold your song, and let it be. Like here's what you sang." And Melkor, in the Song of the Ainur, always introduced discordant themes. And what Iluvatar said to Melkor was, "And thou, Melkor, shall see that everything you did was but a part of my mind." So Melkor would cause the chaos in the oceans and the cold and the terrible stuff, but it turns into snow and ice and the marvels of the world, and it's just, you know, all of these things. Everything evil turns to something beautiful. That right. even Satan, in which, bearing in mind that Tolkien was a devout Catholic, it's the same sort of thing, that you couldn't have the story of the crucifixion without Judas.
Right, you need an evil.
You can't have this. You can't have the story without the tension of the adversary, as expressed in the Book of Job. And again, it's a story.
Yeah, obviously, but I mean, like, I'm just saying from a theocratic or a theological standpoint, and also it's mainly Joe's Witness viewpoint too. Just the fact that God had to step in and intervene because Satan was winning the challenge. It's kind of like watching like The Little Mermaid when Prince Eric and Ariel are about to kiss and the contract will be fulfilled. Ariel sends her eels to flip the boat over to make sure it doesn't happen. Like that's exactly what it feels like. God steps in and interferes as he's about to lose the bet. He's like, I can't have that happen. I'm God. Yeah.
So Steph just left when Andrew asked this question. I wanted to finally get to it.
I haven't left. I'm still here.
Oh,
I'm just invisible.
She's fading in.
I have magical powers.
The Romulan cloaking device.
I have a cloaking device. The Catholic Tutor's got lots of good questions in the chat too.
We'll address this other one, virgin child bride thing. All right, so he's asking you specifically, Stephanie, what do you think of the Pope? He had lunch with transgender individuals and blessed same-sex couples. He seems to be moving the church forward.
Hey, anytime a guy in a dress wants to have a conversation. No, to be more serious, I'll take the Pope seriously when he treats my gay and lesbian siblings with respect, and he is taking those steps. He is also resisted strongly by people of faith within his own congregation. So that's a tension within the church, and that's what I'm talking about. My own denomination, which I no longer adhere to. I am an atheist, and my preacher relations all know that I am, but they don't preach that I'm a hateful person for not sharing their faith.
Right.
That's what needs to change. That, you know, it's like grudging acceptance well, quoting the letter from the Birmingham jail again, grudging acceptance is sometimes harder to understand than outright rejection. So I'd like to see more of that.
Yeah. In addition to that, Andrew, Catholic tutor, what I find most interesting and maybe a bit frustrating in the whole debate here that is essentially incited by the Pope between himself and the, should we call him like lay YouTube influencers of Catholicism? It's that I see more and more of opposition, frustration, and downright calling the Pope demonic for what he's allowing and doing. So if you go to a channel like Pints with Aquinas or Trent Horn, they hate the Pope. Their audience is declaring the Pope anathema and demanding that the church restart or get a Pope that gives a damn about their tradition and fundamentalist doctrine. They hate all of this. And I don't think they're wrong to do so. I'm like, respect your roots. I just don't get it. And that, I think that's like a miracle in itself. It's an anti-miracle, really, that there are religious leaders that can see the harm that their beliefs are causing upon society and are working in spite of those beliefs, in spite of their lay people, to do something right, to do something good, to do something generous, to do something out of the recognition of the humanity of others. That's awesome. But then to be spurred by everyone who sent you billions of dollars, it's like, great. I'm glad you're willing to start losing their contributions.
And the other thing to be cognizant of is that there are schisms within Catholicism, like the folks who utterly reject anything that has happened since Vatican II, including using the vernacular for the Mass. People that practice the Latin Mass as the only true word of God. It's very much similar to Protestant fundamentalists, particularly of the English bent, who will only accept the King James translation of the Bible as the true word of God, as if Jesus and the disciples spoke English, particularly of the English of the 16th century. It's tricky, and I understand that there is an institutional legacy in European, Western European tradition. It's a tradition that goes back to Rome and to the foundations of the church. And that's true conservatism. And so I understand where fundamentalists, either of the Protestant bent or of the Catholic bent, will insist on the Bible is the literal word of God. But then the question becomes, which Bible? Is it the Vulgate? Is it King James? Is it what is the translation that Jehovah's Witnesses have done? Because they change a lot of shit.
Yeah, the New World Translation.
The New World Translation for Joseph Smith's translation of the Bible, which is equally is like kind of
Yeah,
a
New World
modified King
New World
James.
translation is generally considered to be a poor translation of the Bible because they take a lot
Yeah,
of
it's
liberties with certain
terrible.
things.
Well,
Especially
and-
John
and-
1:1.
and-
I think that's like the big focal point of the contention around that translation is John 1:1, where
Yeah.
they basically turn Jesus from God to a God. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's not too far off.
But it's twisting the words to tell the story that the practitioners of the religion want to tell. So how is that the word of God? Ultimately, how is that the word of God? It's the inspired word of God on the basis of this guy in the Jehovah's Witnesses tradition, or this guy in the Mormon tradition, or this guy in the Calvinist tradition, or this guy in the Lutheran tradition. It's like obviously Martin Luther like wrote a version of the Bible, and the King James was based on the Tyndale translation that. Like
right,
and all of any translation of any story is going to lose nuance if you don't understand the original language. I mean, there are puns in Hebrew throughout the Old Testament, and there are a lot of scholars will argue over Greek translations because what did this word mean in context at the time in Koine Greek? So,
did you guys catch the beginning of the stream? What I was talking about there?
Not the very beginning. No, I was still on the line stream.
Oh, right. Yeah, reading super chats and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to maintain sanity in the chat, so Eric was over there engaged in the same thing.
I was stoking the fire while Stephanie was trying to put it out.
Yeah, exactly. You son of a bitch. Yeah.
Well, basically, I went over a paper I've been reading. Well, I've read it, like I've skimmed it like 2.5 times now. But I read it, tried to read it a bit more like scrupulously today. And I sent it to Kip because we were both listening to, I think, Faith and Reason's channel or something like that. And they were on a panel with like, John McClatchy or something, or Testify or something or the other. And they're all like, gospel authorship is so awesome. It's so well attested. And Luke was a physician because Luke was a physician because of all his medical terms. And I'm like, whoa, hold up. Like, that's a claim that I haven't really seen the evidence for. Right? Like, was Luke really a physician? And so like I had to break past like the Google Christian bias, right? And go to like Google Scholar and some other stuff to find this 1920s dissertation that goes through all of the Greek, all of the citations, all the comparisons of Luke to Josephus, to Hippolytus, to Galen, to Archipelago. I don't know what the fuck his name is, but you get the idea. Or in the Septuagint itself. And basically it's Luke can use every other word that everyone else can. All you've proven is that he was educated and read shit. It's basically like these arguments are terrible. And like I read through like, in a little bit more detail at the beginning. And it blew my mind. Another thing that blew my mind, just like the woman-wife thing. But, to actually see that someone so long ago has destroyed, and I mean, beyond a shadow of a doubt in my mind, destroyed the notion that you hear 1,000,000 times over in any presentation about Luke. Right? Oh, here we go. We've got Luke, Paul's companion, Luke, writing this amazing gospel from eyewitness testimony because he was his traveling companion physician. It always gets tacked on there. And as a physician, he'd have great attention to detail for history. It's like,
yeah.
Fuck,
I wonder
what?
I wonder how much of this is like old ground that's already been treaded, but we've just simply lost those writings because we've had 2,000 years of analysis on these books. There's probably so many discoveries and theories and opinions that have just been lost to time because we've lost the manuscripts.
Well, the evangelical, West is completely lost the critical scholarship of the German theologians.
Yeah.
The people who were sitting there that get shit on for the documentary hypothesis, right? Which is, I think, partly where that was coming from, being more textual critical of the beginning of the Hebrew scriptures. And it's like, who can really actually read the stuff that is trying to go into the language without a particular bias, but looking at like, is there a good reason to think that these other letters of the epistles or the pastorals are authentic, right? What's the tradition of these things? What's the language going on here, right? It's crazy.
And the same goes for Jewish tradition in terms of these things weren't really written down, and the Masoretic texts are really quite late, and so much of the New Testament is based on Septuagint, which was a translation in Alexandria of the Tanakh. In the between the 2nd and 1st century BCE, that so much of this is sort of around that time when all this stuff was getting getting figured out in Jewish tradition, and hence in the tradition that moved towards a particular form of Messianic Judaism that turned into Christianity over time. And I also think that, interestingly enough, that throughout history, men and women were taught different things about what the Bible expected of them, and the texts that were important to understand. And I think it was Wayne who said, fuck the patriarchy, or words to that effect in the side chat, and it's really quite dramatic. I mean, it's the expectations of girls and boys are started at a very early age with reference to religious text, because religious text is the foundation has been the foundation until really quite recently of Western society.
Sorry, I'm pushing back on our skeptics in the chat.
What are we doing? We shitting on the skeptics? No, don't shit on skeptics, because really it's like...
But no, like, I'm trying to just be like, there's things that we can say that I think, I'm trying to figure out the nicest way to put this, that I think we can re-examine upon saying them. So like this comment, right? Purple, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying, and I said it in the chat, maybe if you're a woman would have died in childbirth if God had told men they should wait until their women's bodies were fully mature before getting them pregnant. There's an extent of truth to that younger people may have different issues trying to give birth, but during that time, I mean, the multitude of complications and lack of sanitation and things like that, you could die or have severe lifelong consequences of childbirth, irrespective of your age. Like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, yeah, I get it.
I think what Purple's getting at there is that we need to kind of completely separate the idea of what an omnipotent, loving God would have told his people compared to what actually was done by those people.
Okay,
An omnipotent, loving God in his book would say, "Hey, wait till a mature age to have babies. Here's proper sanitation procedures to minimize loss of life and to decrease mortality rate."
There.
Like that's something that a God should have done. The fact that the people didn't have that because we don't think God exists is like they were working with the best thing they had at the time. Those individuals back then can't really be blamed for being ignorant, but we can blame this imaginary God for not giving that adequate information to begin with. I think that's probably was purple.
I get you, purple.
It's somewhat of a it's somewhat of a proof that these are stories that humans produce, because an omnipotent, loving God could have told everybody about the germ theory of disease. And could have told everybody about how does inheritance actually, what is DNA? It's like, oh, by the way, all of you folks, all of the life on Earth, when I was putting all of this shit together, I designed the 4 bases. I designed a double helix. I designed it this way. I did this, I did that, and the other thing. And here's the manual. All you need to do is read the manual. And instead, we get a bunch of fucking stories that says the ratio of the diameter of a circle to its circumference is 3, and it's wrong. It's incorrect.
You just gave me ideas, Stephanie. We should rewrite the Bible into like a metal version. Like, you know, that one scripture where God's like, "Where were you when I was doing all these things? Where were you when I was designing you in the womb?" or something like that. I can't remember the exact scripture, but I have a scripture like,
I know the verse you're referring to. Yeah,
where were you when I was designing Ebola? Like, just put a dark twist on it.
Oh yeah. Oh,
and the Quran has a very similar text.
Yeah,
I always
like
repeated
God,
many times. It's a formula.
Yeah, God was like rhetorically, who was he talking to? Where were you when I was Bible?
Job.
Oh, was that Job? Yeah, it was Job. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Tell me if you know and have understanding. Who determined the measurements of the earth, if you know, or who stretched the measuring line in it? Where were you when I was putting eye worms into children? Yeah.
I always love like non-stamp collectors postulation about the Ark, where he has like some of the sons like trying to figure out who's taking parasites and things like that aboard. And then I'm just like in someone's chat, right, that they're talking about the Ark, and I'm like, so who do you think had to take the pubic lice on board?
No one had to. They just stowed away.
Right?
Pretty sure there was more than 2 pubic lice on that boat.
Right. According to their kinds.
Oh, hey, why is my headphones not working?
That's my favorite.
I gotta turn them on. Y'all sound all echoey.
Because you as screwed up technologically as I was on Christmas Day, on account of the fact that the sluices were open on both ends.
All right, behave.
Praise Jesus.
I was gonna say I can't. You all started talking about Job, but I'm like, they're sitting there talking about Job and haven't realized it's Job, because that's my favorite. This section of the Bible is actually this particular poem is my favorite.
I'll be right back. Behave.
Because I like Leviathan.
We'll take care of you, Nitty.
Leviathan's fun.
Yeah. Can you pull Leviathan with the fish hook or tie down its tongue with the rope? All that fancy poetry talk. It's what I love about that is how clearly and evidently it is not part of the rest of the narrative. How the character of Yahweh in that narrative doesn't match with anything else you see from him for the rest of the Old Testament.
Yeah,
it just doesn't fit.
God went through a lot of phases, a lot like a teenager, just a lot of phases.
I think the only reason we kept Job was because Jesus quoted it so much they couldn't say, "Oh no, Job's not part of the canon." They can't say that at Nicaea because Jesus kept talking about it. But they, like what they did with Enoch, they're like, "Oh, we don't like some of the stuff in this. We're gonna push this off." Did Jesus ever quote Enoch? I don't think he ever did.
I don't think so. Did Enoch even have any quotes in the Bible? Did Enoch see anything? It was just a story that Enoch was really
left out.
There's references to Enoch in other parts of the Bible.
There's the book of Enoch, right?
Yeah, but that's
but the book wasn't included in the canonical text.
Only for churches that recognize the Council of Nicaea, though, which the Ethiopian Orthodox split off before that, so they still have the book of Enoch.
Yeah,
correct.
I'm wondering in the non-Enoch Bible if Enoch actually directly says anything, or is just simply describes him saying things.
Because there's still like the loop. Well, Nitty was talking the other night about how Revelations made it in there, and it's ridiculous because Revelations is essentially just a fever dream of Daniel.
Yeah, that guy was eating mushrooms. Cool. I think that was a bad. Cool. That was a very vivid bad trip that turned into the Book of Revelation.
Freaking cricket demon scorpions flying around.
Oh yeah, ground opening up and bowls of wrath and chimeras running around and a harlot on a wild beast, like fucking metal. Yeah,
with the face of the goat and the sheep and the lion and the serpent.
Oh man. The Jehovah's Witnesses had a book called Revelation, Its Grand Climax at Hand. Really funny title.
Of course.
You can't fap to it though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a climax at hand.
That's for my only nitties.
But
Google it your own red.
Here we go. Are we gonna delve? Are we gonna get back to Dulhani's? My favorite thing from today's thing was Dulhani's. Well, what would it matter if you were? Never mind.
Oh my God! I remember that too.
I won't go there because that was a little bit over the top, even for me, and I'm a fucking sailor,
I hate to derail real quick,
You're
but I just want to
saying
ask
this?
Steph, when are you on Takis?
Tomorrow.
Okay, I guess I will be watching that with Dr. Tapioca Weasel.
Hey, that's cool.
Yeah, he's coming to visit me.
Anybody who wants to either watch or call, it's Arden and me, and we're taking phone calls. We're taking
What
names.
time is it?
3 Eastern, 2 Central, I believe. I think.
Yeah, I'll still be at work. I'll be long over before I get off work. We can watch it back though. Yeah, I worked a late shift in the winter months. I choose to do that because I have to work I have to take so many of the late shifts. So it's like, if it's going to be dark and depressing anyway, I might as well be at work. And then when the summer, when it gets...
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going
to say the calls on Takis recently. We're going to after you. After you.
Madam, after you.
Yeah, the calls on Takis recently have been pretty darn good. So it's a good show, and I think it's an important one. It's at this point, it's kind of the only thing out there where people get to call in and talk to trans people live. So it's me and Arden tomorrow.
Eric was on there tonight. At least that's what rumor has it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was in the live chat. Yeah.
Eric was in the chat. I was in the chat.
It was causing trouble.
I was putting trouble out.
I was in there the other night when I'm trying to pump up Dr. Ben.
Whose mug should I buy?
I bought Dr. Ben's mug.
Buy Ben's mug.
Dr. Venus's go-go juice.
Venus.
Absolutely.
I do like I Jimmy myself on Christmas.
Yeah.
So you are right, by the way, about Job being the perfect Bible verse to make them into a metal song. It would be perfect.
Yeah.
Nitty, you should make that happen.
I like metal, but I'm not. I'm not musically talented except for my DJ stuff, and that's, you know.
Feed it into an AI. It'll give you something.
Oh, yeah.
You can take that something, just like hammer it into something better.
Ooh, I wonder what happens if you put the verses of Job into the AI.
Well, if you put, I bet
Skynet.
if you added the terms country music to the verses in Job, it'd probably write more accurate songs than metal songs.
I would
the book
love
of Job,
it.
the country belly.
I would love it to be,
Yeah.
to be like a hillbilly, like a rebel country kind of song. Like have him be like a Johnny Cash folk hero, boy named Stu.
Lamenting how a tornado came and swept his children away.
Oh my God, the Book of Job as read by Johnny Cash.
Oh, that would actually probably be badass.
That'd be so
That
funny.
people would cry by the end of it if Johnny Cash read it. I mean, this is his, like he read, like the way, like remember the way he did "Hurt," or what's the song about the shooting that where he shoots the guy riding? Johnny Cash is his voice. I have a soft spot
Shooting
for
the
it.
guy that's riding.
You know, the book of the Bible I would like to see on OnlyFans. I'm sorry, I should have said that on YouTube. That's
Oh, you
bad.
should look up the Brick Bible.
On
You ever seen the
Omega
Brick Bible?
Foxtrot would be would be the Song of Solomon. I've got to do that.
It's called "I Hung My Head." If you wanted to look it up, Eric.
Oh, okay. I just found it. Yep. Just found it.
It's it'll bring you a little tear to your eye. It's just he was just training. I won't ruin the song. You know, you train a rifle though, like on something moving out on the.
Are you guys
Barbie girl? Oh my God, I want to hear this.
All right, you only got you can only play 5-second clips.
I'm not Johnny Cash. I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world.
Oh no!
Life in plastic, it's fantastic. You can brush my hair, undress me everywhere. Oh, come on, Barbie, let's go party, 'cause I'm in a Barbie world. If you want to be my lover, you gotta get with my friends. Make it last forever, friendship never ends. I put my hands up and play my song. The butterflies fly away. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a party in the USA.
Oh, they got the solo.
This is what you guys call music? Well, I'll be damned.
This is so good. Fucking whistle.
Slide whistle.
Yeah.
Well, if they free me from this AI, if my voice was only mine, I bet I'd move it on a little farther down the line. Far from Barbie world, that's where I want to stay. Oh, come on, Barbie, let's go party and take my blues away.
While we're on this train, do a search for Moana Battle Droid.
You know, I used to play that live and I did do the harmonica solo or do a harmonica solo instead of the guitar solo. I always wondered why Johnny Cash never incorporated harmonica.
Here we go. Nitty, I'll send this to you.
You're welcome, or
no? Oh, yes, we were welcome. Moana, you're welcome, Battle Droid.
Oh my God,
it's
I
beautiful.
clicked through it a little bit, but I don't know.
It's beautiful.
I don't know, y'all. I don't know.
Am I gonna cry?
You
might cry laughing.
Oh, you found it. Okay.
Yeah.
It's the same one. I'm starting in the middle.
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
What we got here?
We're fucking with Disney now. We gotta be really careful.
All right, this time I'm really ending the stream so I can go
We
eat.
find weird stuff on tangents and we watch together. This is
Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Love you, Carrie Ann. Good to see you, AR. Everybody else is out there. Appreciate y'all. We'll see you later. Carrie, we're over at Nitty's if you want to come hang out. All right, later on.